Good morning, everybody. It's Kaylin with Remax Real Estate Center.
And Lisa Severside with Global State Mortgage.
And we have a guy in between us.
We have a special guest again today. You might recognize him from past video.
From the flood day.
Yes, our flood day.
When the mailman got stuck
underneath the bridge.
That was pretty cool.
So we have Tim Hibbing with Fortress Insurance.
Got it.
Yeah. And we've known Tim for a long time. Our paths have crossed many years ago.
20 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I knew it was Timmy Hibbing.
Yeah. A few people still call him Timmy.
Do they? Okay,
Yep.
good. Yeah.
I didn't know Timmy Hibbing. I just know adult insurance guy Tim Hibbing.
I used to babysit your niece and nephew, Gage and Jake.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not niece.
Right,
Nephew,
nephews.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
very
had to be
cool.
fun.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Wow, we were just the boys were just talking about the little Jake Gage little stuff going on. So that had to be like, Jake and Gage was different, right? And
Yeah.
so Gage was just talking about Big Brother Jake was really fun. A lot.
So paths cross throughout lives, like 6
Yeah.
degrees separation.
Oh, Kevin
from
Bacon.
Kevin Bacon, yeah. So
That's funny,
yeah, it is. So we're, it's a nice sunny day here today, but
But
some
Yeah.
days it's not.
some days it's not, and it can wreak havoc on your house,
Yeah, it
right?
can. Absolutely. So we had a lot of hail damage this year, and so people like Tim were kind of busy in May and June, weren't you?
Yeah. Honestly, we were busy. We did 300 claims in 6 months.
Wow.
So
Wow.
what's really unique about hail is that there's a massive domino effect. People see their neighbor getting a new roof. And,
Yes.
Oh, how are they getting a new roof?
Right.
Oh, I better go check mine.
Right.
Yes, you're right, because there were a couple of, it was really kind of neighborhood-ish where those storms came in, and so
Right.
you walked right through the neighborhood, and every other house
Yeah.
was getting something or deciding a roof, and it was truly hail damage,
Yeah.
so it was a lot of very destructive storm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in those houses, like we actually have had some really relevant things because
Yep.
some of those people had their houses for sale
Exactly.
during some of that time.
Yep. And I had one in particular where we had an agreement on a home, and that storm came in prior to closing. So of course that seller, had an insurance claim, and the work was done. Actually, we were lucky it was done prior to closing. So in that case, it's pretty obvious. Hail damage happens, the seller makes a claim with their insurance company, and they get their replacement or whatever. Just knowing the situation, he was a little surprised he didn't have full coverage. So talk to us a little bit about coverage.
Sure. Yeah, I first of all, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah.
95% of policies have full replacement cost.
Okay.
What is becoming a little bit more popular is that insurance companies really feel like they're getting beat up by this hail thing.
Yeah. Literally beat up,
Yeah. And
pounded on.
it's worse in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're seeing is that, there are clauses in the policy where there's a roof depreciation schedule.
Oh, okay.
Because your shingles, when you put it on, they have a roof life, right?
Yep.
So if you guys know, your
Mhm.
shingles on your house have a 15, 20-year, 25-year roof life, right?
Right. Yep. And so, a lot of companies are saying, hey, look, after 15 years, we're not on the hook for full replacement costs.
Okay.
Or after 20 years, we're not on the hook.
Mhm. But they'll give a depreciated amount for that.
Correct.
Right. Rather than they won't say, we're not going to give you anything, but we'll give you
Right.
X. Okay.
Yeah, so there'd be three concepts to talk about. One is full replacement cost,
Mhm.
which is just the best of all worlds.
Right.
The second is actual cash value. And this is where the insurance company is going to come out and they're going to say, look, we owe you a new roof, so we're going to pay 100% of the labor, but your shingles are halfway through their life.
Okay.
So we only owe you for 50% the cost of new materials.
Makes sense. Okay.
And then the third concept is being grandfathered in or not. So as an example,
Okay.
Progressive Insurance is surprisingly lenient. You can have a 19-year-old roof,
Mm-hmm.
sign up with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll give you full replacement cost for life.
Wow. Okay.
Other companies, you might have a 14-year-old roof,
Mm-hmm.
and the very next year, you are being
Depreciated.
depreciated.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
because that company doesn't grandfather you in.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that a house has had hail damage in May, June, and they got a settlement of some sort for
Right.
that work, and they decided to phone the ring.
The phone, Lisa.
Phone Lisa. To call Lisa.
Don't call me.
They decided, I really have some other work in my house that needs more attention.
Right.
So I'm going to use that payout to replace the furnace and the air conditioner instead. Then in October, we're relocating, or for whatever reason we find another house we want to move.
Right.
So what happens when that next buyer comes and make an application for homeowners insurance?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple things. Insurance is a contract of indemnification.
Ooh, that's a big word.
That's a big
That's
word.
for us. Yeah, we're pretty simple around here. That's a big word.
There's your $1 million statement.
Yeah.
It just means that the goal of the entire insurance concept is that it just puts you back in the place you were.
Okay.
So you should never be robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
Never taking insurance money to fix another problem.
Okay.
Or if you do, expect there to be consequences when you go to sell the house.
Okay.
Because
you guys,
you have a database, right? So like when I say I'm going to buy this house that
Mhm.
Kaylin is talking about, so I'm going to come to you and say, hey, I want an insurance policy on this house. When you pull it up,
Right.
you see that there was a claim made
Right.
and what the claim was for, correct?
It generally speaking, it'll say hail or water or fire, and then we have to ask
The questions,
the
right?
questions. Okay.
Right.
Great. So you can't really hide that.
You really cannot.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an ethical part of it, and then there's also like you're gonna get caught, right?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. So the example that we were talking about before we went live here was
We did prep today.
we
Can you
did.
believe it? Yeah.
all right. So we had a close friend, and they were looking at buying their dream house,
Mhm.
and the seller
Mhm.
had gotten a $35,000 settlement for his roof and the
Oh wow.
eaves. By the way, the easiest way to crawl up on your roof and find out if you have hail damage
Mhm.
is to not crawl up on your roof, but just look at your downspouts
oh.
Yeah.
and see if they've been dinged by the hail.
Mm-hmm.
So a little side note, great little side note, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So this guy had gotten a $35,000 check,
Okay.
and he really believed that he just lucked out, hit the lottery, and was going to be able to sell his house for the normal market rate
Okay.
and leave the roof for that guy to deal with.
Okay.
Even though
right.
we had the $35,000 check
Right.
to
Right.
Replace
fix
that
the
roof.
roof.
So my guy, my friend, my client comes to me and says, "What do you think?" And we said, "Well, we have two issues here.
Right.
Number one, you better be getting a $35,000 deal on the house.
Right, because obviously there's going to be an inspection on that property.
Right. You
And they're
need
gonna-
a new roof.
You need a new roof.
Functional,
It's going to
right?
say, yep, it needs a new roof, new
Yep.
gutters, eaves, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
I said the second issue is if you don't have a new roof,
Mhm.
your company is going to see
Right.
$35,000 was paid for something.
Yes.
And if they come out and find that
Mhm.
nothing was repaired, you're going to be dropped.
Yep. Exactly.
So his insurance company is going to say, you bought this
Right.
house. We already see that this roof should be new.
Right.
It's not.
Right. Yep.
There's damage, obviously. So
Yep.
you do something or you're gone.
You're exactly. So I'll give
And if
you.
you have a mortgage, we require insurance.
Right,
Just an
exactly.
FYI.
Because the check actually goes, if there's a mortgage on the house, the check actually goes to the mortgage holder, made out to the owner and the mortgage holder, correct?
If it's over $5,000.
Okay, all right. So you will receive that check, and you guys have to have that kind of discussion
Right.
before
Right.
you can sign that check over to them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so a side note on that too. So if you get a $35,000 check, right?
Right.
And the mortgage person, and you're choosing not to do it, it is in your mortgage that you are expected then to pay down your mortgage by that amount. That's part of the whole deal. So there's,
Ooh.
yes, because that the value of the house
Mhm.
has now gone
Has
down,
gone down,
because
right.
there's damage done.
Yeah. So,
So yeah.
So there's obviously lots of ethical things going on here.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's you get a $35,000 check, and it's very easy to go, woohoo! Now what am I gonna do?
Go
You
on
know?
vacation. Go
That's
to
right.
Disney
I mean,
World.
the roof's not leaking. I'm fine.
I'm good.
Right.
But
Right.
really, that's what insurance is for. It's to insure your home, so that money should be taken care of the home.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing to do if you really want to get ahead,
Right.
the best thing to do is take the money, buy the materials, and re-roof it yourself. I mean, and that.
Well,
Oh,
and there's really
right.
and so as long as the work is done, you don't. That's a
Correct.
good question. You don't require a receipt for that work.
Not at
Okay.
all.
All right.
Not at all.
How do they determine? So like just question like so at $35,000 or whatever.
Right.
What is the determining? Is it like square footage? Is it a certain type of shingle, or what do you know? Like, or is it different insurance? Whoever your provider is has a different way of calculating that.
Lots of good questions here. So first of all, if you were to crawl up on the roof,
Right.
a couple telltale
crawl up.
signs.
So not a good thing.
We're not recommending that. We're free of all liability.
Right.
Yeah.
Not attorneys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Sign
rubbers.
do they sign waivers
Yeah.
to watch this?
They probably should.
Yeah.
So if you did crawl on your roof and you wanted to assess this, sometimes the nails will be jetting through the shingle.
Mm.
That's an obvious thing that the
Right.
impact has been so strong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then the second thing is that typically the underbelly of the shingle should be cracked.
Oh, okay.
So again, the force of the hail was so bad that it sort of did that.
Oh,
to the
okay. Gotcha.
shingle. But what were we talking about?
We're talking about the different how they determine how much you're going to get paid out.
How much you're going to get
kind
paid?
of.
Yes. So there's definitely a function of the square, like
Mhm.
how much you're getting per square.
Mhm.
This is kind of nice to know, but most companies use the same software.
Oh.
So
Mhm.
they're going to take a dollar per square,
Okay.
and then add on all their stuff for like windowsills and downspouts, things
Okay,
like that.
gotcha.
It's a pretty good
Mhm.
science. What we have seen is that some companies are more generous on roof caps and
Oh.
ice guard in the valleys
Okay. Gotcha.
compared to others. But at the end of the day, hail is kind of nice because everyone's thrilled, to get some help on a brand new roof.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what happens? So that would be if you chose to use the money for something else. Again,
Mhm.
it would come back to you. So you wanted new gutters on your house, but the money was for something else. It's going to come up when you go sell your house.
Right.
What happened to that roof? Well, we got new gutters, but our roof is still bad.
Right.
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 Yeah, we were just dealing with somebody in Ankeny this week, which I don't know how they're re-roofing in Ankeny. It's supposed to be 45 degrees or warmer
All right. For the shingles to.
at here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's this deal going on in Ankeny right now where she wants to close January 30th, and the roof is
Oh.
way
Toast.
out. If the roof is toast, and they're going to do it, but the buyer went to the seller and said, "Deal is off if you don't put a new roof on here, or give me a $3,000 credit or something like
Yeah.
$5,000 credit."
Okay.
And so the seller just had no choice but to
Put that roof
put
on.
that roof on,
Hmm.
yeah. Which is not a fun surprise.
No,
When you're trying to
when you're
move
trying
on
to
with
do
your life.
no kidding.
Right.
Yeah. So can you give us a quick two? We're going a little longer on this one, but can you give us a quick two? So there's kind of different versions of insurance as you're looking. So you're getting a quote for your homeowner's policy. HO3, HO5,
Yeah.
HO4 condos, right?
HO6.
HO6s.
Oh, good job, Lisa.
So
It's good.
I'm not. I just know the basics, but so can you kind of tell? So I'm buying a house, shopping for my insurance, going, man, right? There's a lot of HOs out there.
Yeah.
If I'm choosing between them, what's my difference that I'm looking at going beyond just like a rental policy or just your basic primary homeowner's insurance? If I come to you and you're saying, here's an HO3 policy, here's an HO5, what's my difference that maybe I'm getting in those?
Sure. So we'll break it down into exterior and interior.
Okay.
Policies are in nature an HO5, which is, on the exterior,
Okay.
pretty much anything goes. Let's start over real quick.
Okay.
So there's typically three universally understood exclusions.
Okay.
One is terrorism.
Okay.
Another is flood,
Okay.
unless you buy it separate.
Right.
And another is earthquake,
Okay.
unless you buy it separate.
Okay.
So if we can put those three on the shelf
Those are-
for a moment,
Those are
All
over
right.
here. Yep.
Yep.
then as it pertains to the exterior,
Okay.
pretty much anything goes, regardless of whether you have HO3 or HO5.
Okay.
Okay.
It's covered.
The interior is where we get into the value of an HO5.
Oh, okay.
So, your personal property is defined as if you could pick your house up, turn it upside down, and shake it like a snow globe, anything that would fall out of the
Mhm.
house is your personal property.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a wall-to-wall carpeting is attached, so it's part of the house.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
But your couch is not because it would fall.
Right.
It would be the snow.
Right.
But what if your couch is plugged in like mine is?
In all seriousness, the thought is that it would come unplugged
Okay, all
from
right.
the wall
Because you're shaking it.
Yes.
if you're shaking it. Right.
It's a recliner. That's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's so heavy. It's
Yeah,
gonna
right,
those
it's the-
recliners weigh like 1,000 pounds, right?
They do. Yes.
Is it a hide event?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's got a massage thing.
No.
Oh. Sorry.
Off topic. Okay, back to the
Do you live at
interior.
North Grand Mall? Outside of Victoria's Secret?
That's right. I ask people as they come by, would you like to sit in the massage?
Right.
I do it for my lunch hour.
Right.
She's never asked me, by the way.
I know.
So so the HO3 is just gonna it's called a named perils
Okay.
policy, and it's just gonna list 16 things: fire, windstorm, tornado, hail, theft, pipe burst, tap your garage with your car,
Mm.
driver drives into your house with his car, somebody
Mhm.
has a seizure while driving, they drive into your house.
Okay.
Those are all going to be included in an HO3 named perils policy. 90% of people, that's all they have.
Okay.
10% are going to do that HO5,
Mhm.
and this is where weird stuff starts to be covered.
Oh, okay.
I'll never forget 2008. I had my first customer call and say their kids were playing Nintendo Wii
Oh.
tennis. They threw the controller, hit the TV. They wanted coverage for that.
They were not wearing the wrist guard things
They
that keep it
must
on
not
your
have.
right.
Right. Or that same year, 2008, we had a dog excrement all over the house
Oh.
while his owner was away on vacation because the dog sitter didn't come to let him out.
Oh.
So in those weird situations, or 2 years ago,
Right.
a woman cut her leg on a glass table and she bled everywhere. Fortunately, she bled on carpet, which was attached to the house, so there was coverage
Bridge.
on her HO3.
Oh my
But had
gosh.
she bled on a rug or the couch, there wouldn't have been any
Yeah,
coverage. Grandkid, you got 4 of them.
Yes.
If they spill grape juice all over
I
everything.
had one take a sippy cup and break my TV one time. I never claimed that.
So it's
That's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic.
and the reason that 90% just do the named perils
Mhm.
is because a lot of the claims you're going to make are going to be small,
Yes.
barely over
And
the
there's a deductible, right.
Now your rate's going to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you really just don't want to take any chances, you want to be super safe, HO5, open perils, the way to go. Probably costs an extra 3 to 5%.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a lot of information to digest today.
Yeah.
But the main thing is to, maybe take out that insurance policy and take a look at it and read it.
Yeah.
You know what? And if you have a mortgage, your insurance is kind of tied to your mortgage, correct?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't change your insurance.
Correct.
Right. So if you look at your policy and think, maybe I need to take a look at that and see if I need to make sure I'm covered. And if you've had any insurance claims, you might want to check to make sure you've done what you needed to do in case you end up selling your home and,
Yep.
you don't want to have any issues come up. We want to have
Yeah.
smooth sailing.
Yeah, and I would say too, like, right, we got that check, the thing to do, it's gonna come up. So,
Right.
like, actually, I had this guy
There's no
in
secrets.
college that was so funny because he would do stuff to his car,
Mhm.
and then he would just keep the check and then put duct tape.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And if he ever watches, you know who you are. But I always thought that was hysterical, right? Because, right, but when you're selling, so car, maybe, I don't know about the car, that's a whole different topic, but
Sure.
the house, right,
Mhm.
it's going to
Yep.
come up because you're going to sell it, it's going to come up on the new person's
Research on their
research on the
insurance.
home, and
Yeah.
so something's going to have to happen when you sell it if you don't do what you're supposed to do with the check money.
Yeah,
So,
it could cause a lot of problems.
Can I say one more thing?
yeah.
If
Absolutely.
you do get a new roof,
Mhm.
you're going to hate this, but you actually need to go to your agent and tell them when you're done in order to update the policy
Right.
Oh.
and get a lower rate.
Yes,
because
you
have a
do.
new roof.
Yes,
You
because I
think-
get that little thing every year if there's any updates, and I make sure I update that when I got a new furnace or roof because that does make a difference on your policy.
Right.
So all
Absolutely.
those things that you do to your house, right? Like you install an alarm system or you do
Oh,
whatever,
absolutely.
you should let your insurance person know that
Absolutely.
information.
Super.
Cool. So I would say if you have questions, we covered a lot of
We
stuff.
did cover a lot of stuff. So thanks people for hanging in with us because there's been a lot of information today.
Yeah.
But it's an important topic to talk about because, we try to be relevant, and these issues have come up this year in several different ways with insurance claims and selling and buying. And so we wanted to make sure we got an expert in here. So we got Tim.
We did. Tim the expert.
We got the expert. So
Timmy.
I got Timmy Hibbing.
Yeah.
Yes. So we appreciate his time and information. And if you have any questions, you can call any of us and we can help you out.
right? Get you to the person who knows insurance information.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So
We have a wealth of knowledge to help you get to the right place.
super.
Yes.
So well, thanks for joining us today,
Yeah,
and we
thanks,
will
Adam.
appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.